Hey guys, Cam with River Fab, showing you today our V-Mount kit for the Mazda RX7 FD. Starting over here, we've got the rear support bracket, an airbox, gritty elbow, frame rail caps, intercooler, radiator, of course the piping, and then finally over here we've got some optional things, the battery and the core support cover. And one thing that I want to point out quick is these three items here are prototypes. The production RX7 here has had some prior modifications done, such as the fuse block relocation, some wiring changes, obviously the radiator and intercooler aren't there. Our customer has chosen to keep his AC condenser, so we'll be working around that. We've got a different radiator for that application. But all of the parts that are included in our kit bolt to factory locations for this model. So everything fits nicely. All right, so the tools that you'll need for this install are a 5mm Allen key, a ratchet, 3/8 extension. This is a 5mm bit driver, 10mm long socket, 11mm long socket, and a 13mm stubby socket, along with a 10mm wrench. And then also included is 5 feet of foam. We include this for you to use at your discretion to help block any gaps or holes, so you can trap as much air as possible. All right, so step one, we're going to take the driver and passenger side frame rail caps and install them in the car. The driver's side uses these two mounting holes on the top and these three on the bottom. And the passenger side uses these two on top for right now, we'll get to that one later, and then these two on the bottom. Note that these are just prototypes. Your parts will be looking different. So now that those are in, let's talk about our radiator here. So we've modified this radiator to have 90-degree elbows to help with flow. We've also added tabs along the side here to block air and provide locations for mounting a AC condenser. Next up, we're going to be mounting our rear support to the radiator, and that's just done with two 8mm bolts. Alright, so now that the rear support bar is mounted, we'll be using two more 8mm bolts and 3/8 inch spacers to bolt up the radiator into the car. So next we're installing our optional anti-gravity battery and bracket. So on this car, the fusible link has been tucked to the side, so our customer is going to have to make a connection from the positive terminal of the battery to the fusible link. But the hardware on this is super simple. It's just M6 nut and bolt, 2 washers, and there's a little bit of foam on the bracket just to help the battery stay cushioned and secure. Alright, so we forgot to mention this earlier, but we've got this little piece of ducting. We'll just install some of the rear bracket here on the intercooler mount. And it's just 2 M6 bolts, washers, nuts. Just helps direct the flow of air. Alright, so the next step is installing our custom intercooler here. it just gets 2 bolts on this tab, 1 bolt here, and then 2 in the back. All of them are M6 by 16. These 2 on the back get nuts on the bottom side, but the ones up front go into factory locations. So it's pretty straightforward. The reducing end of the coupler goes on the gritty elbow, like so, and then into the 3-inch end of our intercooler piping. Remember your clamps. Alright, so these are our 2 air boxes. We're going to be installing this one today because it's already got the cutout for our intake and AC lines. The one that you'll be receiving will look more like this, except it'll be all finished and bent nicely. But it'll come with this solid back, so you can place your intake wherever it lands for your car. So when you're installing these, it helps if you kind of tuck it in, and then you can tip it. Alright, so after you install the air box, the front bumper can go on, and then after that, you can install the core support cover. Alright, so for installing the core support cover, you're going to use 4 spacers, 2 long ones here and here, and 2 short ones here and here, and then 4 55mm by M6 bolts.